I'd like to welcome today here to talk with me is Taryn Langmeade. Taryn, how's it going?
It's going great.
Taryn, will you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I'm Taryn Langmeade. I teach at Loudoun Valley High School. This is my 8th year teaching, 7th year at Valley. I teach Earth Science and Geospatial Science.
Now, you had mentioned that there were some vocabulary terms that people were learning, and I know that being a little familiar with your school, you have some students there that use communication devices, augmentative communication devices. So let's talk about that. What are some strategies that you've used to help the students who are using augmentative communication devices learn these vocabulary terms?
So it came out of a conversation I had with that student's mom about studying and practicing words. I was like, well, how can we get them to practice words? It's like, well, everybody else uses flashcards. I'm going to make flashcards. And so we made flashcards for the student that had, they used descriptive learning because not all of the words we wanted them to understand are in their device. Words like topography is not a common word.
Mm-hmm.
And for anybody that doesn't know, it's a type of map that talks about elevation, topographic maps.
And I think some teachers would want to maybe say, okay, well, this is a vocabulary term that you might see on an assessment. They need to know to get through my class. And then say, so let's program that term into the device. So this way the student has it. And the thing is, the chances are that the student ever uses that term again. Now, who knows? I mean, maybe the student will progress and be someone who works with Esri and ArcGIS and or works with maps or works in that sort of realm. And of course, we want the students to know all the words, but is that word necessary? Does it need to be programmed in the device, or was there another way that you could teach it?
It does not need to be programmed because we have a way to do it. We use just other smaller words that are core words instead of fringe words. So like the easy words that we use the most. So can I show?
Yeah, please.
So topography was the one we had. I have the word I wanted them to know on the front, and then on the back, it's the words that we use to describe it and the buttons that they would need to press to find it in the device. So go up ground.
I love it. Yeah.
So go up ground was topography.
Now you've got a whole book there. So let's put me to the test. I'm going to try it. You give me a vocabulary term. I'm going to try and guess what's on how to do that descriptive teaching. Use those small little words to describe the more curriculum words or academic words.
Okay.
It looks like you've got a whole stack.
We just started talking about weather.
It blows. It blows fast. It goes fast. Air moves. Oh, I like it. Right.
Now, I do have one. I don't know if I put fast in it, and that would have been a good one, but I have like tornado and hurricane in here.
Well, I think it's an important thing to recognize that there's not one right answer, right? There's lots of different ways you can describe windy.
Because I always would have thought it was, so I didn't realize that the word danger isn't a core word.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, because I would sit here and try and find it, and I couldn't. So danger is just not safe.
Not safe. I love it.
Not safe.
What a great way to recognize, and kind of describe what those words mean, right? So let me ask you there, you originally started developing those cards for the student who uses AAC. And is it still primarily used by that student, or is it something that, you've seen that is a strategy that works beyond that student?
It actually worked beyond that student. So it works with some of the other students in that class. And with earth science, I have a lot of earth science words in here. And I was talking to my students because they saw me working on these flashcards and putting them together. And they were looking and they're like, oh, that makes so much more sense when we explain it that way. because I was talking about plate tectonics. It was broken rock moves. Like, oh yeah, it does. And so it
works for everybody.
Some of them, they're like, oh yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of that. It was just the easy words to explain the harder ones. And I'm like, okay, well, how can I describe that word to help describe this other word?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I have words in here that I describe it, and then I can use it in another one.
I love it. I totally love it. Let me ask you this, Taryn. The student that uses the communication device has a teaching assistant there that's with him during your learning time, your class.
Mm-hmm.
And how did the flashcards work with that, in that sort of dynamic? There's you, there's the teaching assistant, there's the student. Does the teaching assistant look at the flashcards and use that as a little bit of a guide to model the words on the device?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's myself, my team teacher, and my teaching assistant. And so we would actually take turns practicing words with particular units. So when we were making, we made our own little mountains and we were talking about topography, we'd take some time to sit down and go, what's topography? And we'd pull up that flashcard and look at it, and he'd find all the spots. They would find the words that they needed. And hey, great job. Let's try this next one. And they would do the next one. And we would practice, and then it would kind of get them into the groove of doing what they were supposed to be doing with the actual modeling. It seemed to make a little bit more sense. There was more connection and more engagement in the activity itself when we practiced some words first.
Oh my gosh. Well, that makes total sense, right? I mean, you are essentially, it's like a warm-up exercise to know where the words are, know what we're talking about, understand the concepts, and now we roll into it. So that makes total sense. Well, thank you again for making it such an inclusive environment for everybody. And thank you for using that strategy of descriptive teaching and helping the student learn how to say all the words.
Yes, that's the goal. As many words as we can.
Awesome. All right. See you later, Taryn.
See ya.